Okay, members, this is a wrap-up session for general teaching methods, and in this session, let's just make sure. Just to make sure that we can get it properly. So in this session, we are going to have an overview of the summary of this course unit. So this course unit is general teaching methods, which we specifically looked at how a teacher can implement a curriculum, and to implement the curriculum, the teacher needs approaches which are central for effective implementation of the curriculum, and especially looking at the teacher within the school and also in the community. So general teaching methods work for teachers who are within the school and even those who are in the community, because education is also viewed as a lifelong process, and that education does not have boundaries, and that it cannot be enclosed within a classroom. So because education cannot be enclosed within the four walls of a classroom, so we expect that the teacher finds all the possible means of being able to uh, to deliver the subject matter as indicated in the curriculum, and deliver it effectively, so that learners are able to get the three aspects which we saw. One called the knowledge, let the learners be aware. Another aspect is to see that learners should get skills they should be able to do, and that means that for knowledge we plant in the concept of principles, and then for skills we plant the concept of practice. So principle with practice is what we need out of the teacher. Principle is what should be, practice is what is. So the what should be realized by practice, so that we not have a situation where people are practicing without principles. And then we also have a situation where people have the principles and they have the knowledge, but then they cannot implement the knowledge, so they don't have the practice. The two must work together, so that uh, the student who is in your hand is able to have knowledge, and then also the skills, to have the principle as well as the skill, as well as the practice. So those two have to run together. At the same time, we also saw that in this course unit, we also emphasize the need to balance principle and practice, but also with values and values. So if the person has the principle and can also practice, okay, can have products, can be productive in the society, can be able to guide others in the communities. But if this person does not have upright values, which we call the affective domain, then the person ends up misusing the knowledge or the principles, and also will abuse the skill which you call the practice. And then that's where you see that you will have an engineer who is actually stealing cement, and also having an engineer who is or repairing a phone, but again removing the fault, the good parts and replacing with faulty ones. And then you have a teacher kicking a student to death like that, because the upright values of justice, mercy, kindness, sympathy, and empathy, uh, the values of creativity are not there. They are not planted. Confidence, those values are very key. Even knowing that there is God and that we should actually be able to pray and worship Him. Those are values that we have to uphold in our teaching approaches. So in here, we have looked at the three aspects which we call: let the student have the knowledge as you're teaching, and let the student also have the skills and have the values. In other words, knowledge constitutes to a principle to principles. So principles are packaged as knowledge, and then the skills will lead us to the practice, or then values would have to create a balance of quality work, so that the work we do is of quality. So without values, the quality is jeopardized. So then we also see that the teacher has got to be able to do the work of teaching, and let the people have the knowledge, skills, and values. But also, teaching only would not be sufficient if the teacher does not go ahead to correct what is not going right. So, or for a teacher to do correction, it requires that the teacher learns to correct self. And the correcting self is like you take an action, but you check back to see the action that you've taken, to see whether it is consistent and it is producing the intended outcomes. So this makes at least the teacher to be a little not sluggish but not hesitant, because when hesitant means very quick, so very quick at taking actions, it will result into mistakes. But again, very slow, very sluggish at taking action will also result into delay of actions. So this now demands that the teacher balances between being very quick and being very sluggish, to being steady fast, so that the teacher reduces on the mistakes he or she does. Because when the teacher does a mistake, many people will have to do the very mistakes again and again, because the teacher is believed as to be a living textbook from which others read and 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 get what to do. We not only see the teacher as one who is professional, has got the paper, but the teacher is viewed as life of the teacher is viewed as a living textbook. Then the teacher has also got to, beyond correcting self and correcting others, the teacher should also give guidance to students, but also not only limited to students but to communities, members of the communities who may not necessarily even be in a school. Giving guidance is different from counseling. And giving guidance requires that the teacher prepares himself or herself in and positions his or her work in such a way that people are given direction and are also given where to go and what to do and what not to do. So such cautions and such guidance may not be slated or scheduled in a syllabus, or may not be in a textbook, but very essential for a community within which the teacher lives. Could be in the neighborhood, and could also be wherever you have gone, people will need guidance. And thus the teacher is expected not to keep telling people, I don't know, or I am not the cause of the problem, or I am not concerned. The teacher is expected to be concerned with matters that are not rhyming rightly in the communities, and thus the teacher has got to take responsibility and the obligation to guide the community to get to the right course. So in the current generation, we observe that several times teachers or the community tends to blame when there is a mistake, and then they keep pointing fingers to who has gone wrong and who has not gone wrong. To the teacher is another. The teacher does not only just seek for who has gone wrong, but seeks for what should go right amidst whoever has made a mistake. So pointing fingers is not an attribute of a teacher. The teacher seeks for a solution. So what should we do so that people have a shift from where they are to where they should go? The other aspect from away from guidance is the aspect of counseling. So the teacher has also got to develop aspects of counseling skills, such as you counsel when people have got into problems, but give guidance to prevent people to enter into problems. So when people get into problems, now they become afflicted, and therefore the teacher has got to stand and give counseling. So counseling services are for teaching, are for a teacher, and thus the teacher should be able to listen to the client and follow through the client's issue without bias, and be able to give options that the client has got to choose from to get out of that problem. The other aspect is the aspect of the teacher's training. We see that it is important for a teacher to train the person. It is important for a teacher to train students, but the teacher can never train students beyond the level of training he or she has chosen to subject his life or her life to. Mr. Ivan, you can mute. Mr. Ivan, you can mute. Thank you. So you cannot train people beyond your training ability or your skills. You have seen that footballers keep on running on the sides of the football pitch before actually entering the football pitch, and that if they don't keep training before they enter into the actual match, possibly they will get muscle pulls. They will now their skill level would have dropped. So we really see that the teaching profession, each time we get skills and knowledge, even values can depreciate and can deplete if no deliberate training is actually done by the teacher. Training solve would actually draw you into looking for problems to solve, even those you have never solved before, including those problems you were never taught about. But you go and enter into them, use the skill of research and analysis, observation and analysis, to get to the solution, so that your mind, your body, and your whole self is trained up to solve the evolving problems that keep on coming on board. So the teacher is expected to keep under regular training. And many times we talk about training, sometimes people think we are talking about training of going to a course, attending a course, and then you've got a paper to show that you have actually attended such a course. Several trainings may not necessarily come with the paper accreditations, but they are key for a teacher. So the teacher has got to keep possibly listening to media to see what is happening in there, to keep attending some conferences and some meetings to check what is happening there. The teacher can get involved in community activities, and then you'll see a teacher is either a polling assistant, or a teacher is involved in a remuneration, or okay, enumeration of 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 people in the census. The teacher gets involved in some projects which are either funded by international organizations or local organizations, and is actually there guiding people on how to do it without actually without actually getting deflected from the mandate of a classroom. So during holiday, what does the teacher do? So that actually explains that to us, that training has got to be continuous, and the teacher cannot be enclosed in within uh, within a classroom. So when in classroom, the teacher is very effective. Outside the classroom, the teacher has also trained him or herself into being very effective in there. So we will see that we've seen here that the teacher will need to also develop uh, abilities to reason. We have had situations where the teacher is say gullible. The word is gullible. The teacher is like dull. When the situation changes, the teacher continues being stuck to one way and does not actually adjust to due to changes in scenarios and situations. So it is very important for a teacher to be able to build a body of reasoning. Abilities of reasoning exceed just mere knowledge and skills. It is actually reasoning that will result into improvement, and then the person cannot reason if he or she cannot analyze, because the two run together. You reason as you analyze and draw conclusions without uh, being a person who is quick to jump to the conclusion. One just jumps to the conclusion. That one, according to what I see, it's merely it is even obvious without scrutiny and close analysis of 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 what should be done. So if the teacher continues to make decisions which are not uh, consistent, then the teacher will lose credibility. The community will start to perceive that that teacher Even if he says something, that it doesn't happen that way. It's not realistic. It's not realistic. So you will see that then the other issue is about the teacher's productivity or productive living. We've seen that there are some situations where we see that teacher is, yes, is working, but the teacher's coat is has decolorized. The teacher's coat has lost color. The teacher's suit is the same. It's like the skin of an animal. The teacher does not change attires. The teacher's house is is not a place you can wish to visit. And uh, even the teacher does not even have a field for beans. So the aspect of productivity is really very key in here, where we look at productivity of the teacher. The teacher should even have increasing incomes amidst the meager incomes the teacher is receiving from the school. So, so here we were mentioning of the teacher's productivity, and that we would like to see a teacher who is enterprising as well in the community. Uh, Teaching in school does not deny the teacher from having a farm of cows or goats or trees or any kind of plantation, or getting involved in agriculture. Or being a teacher may not necessarily mean that someone does not get involved in either holding a radio talk show, or offering consultancy, or being a director, a managing director, or a consultant in an organization. So gone are the times where teachers could only be limited uh, to a classroom, and that to explain the teacher's income, you'd only need to have an equal sign to salary. And that if the teacher was receiving a salary of 500,000 shillings, the entire decisions of increasing the teacher's income lies in the hands of those who are actually paying the salary. However, these days we see that teachers who have chosen to live a productive life can have projects which are generating hundreds of millions, yet at the same time they are continuing in the teaching line. Or that requires the teacher's creativity, and also recognizing the the relevance and the value of the resources that we have around us, and seeking to see how we can convert them into wealth. So a teacher is also viewed to be a wealth creator. We've seen that in our country, through history, that teachers' remunerations have mostly remained constant. And apart from the science salary enhancement, others possibly uh, are struggling. Even those with science are still struggling. So how can the teacher get out of struggles to the extent that the teacher will not need to beg for to leave, or the teacher will not need to stay in the teacher's quarters for life, to the extent that trying to remove a teacher from the teacher's quarters is like trying to throw the teacher on the street, and the teacher has been teaching 2 years. So teachers' productivity is something we've got to highlight, because your productivity is another teaching method. It also teaches the community on how to live productively. If the teacher is not productive, then when it comes to the community will not consider that teacher as one who has much to contribute. But we would like to see a situation where even the community comes and say, how did you do that? How do you do the other? And you're able to teach the community aspects which are not necessarily in the scheme of work and in the lesson plan. So that is teachers' productivity. You can expound it beyond, but here we expect that a teacher should also be able to drive a car, should have a land, should have some enterprises that are running, should be able to, the phone screen should not be broken, that discourages people from really seeing that really someone should be a teacher. And that if a child says, mommy, I'm going to be a teacher, he gets slapped because the example of the teachers around don't actually reflect the good life of who a teacher can ever be. So that is very key. The other aspect is the teachers' the ability to take records of events that happen within and also around us. It is very key to remember that the teacher is seen as a record keeper and a maintainer of records. When the records, you ask, for example, submit marks, and then you submit the entire mark sheet, but instead you don't retain one, and the secretary possibly loses it, a copy, and then they ask, please provide for us another copy because we can't see the other. Then you can't say, I gave the copy already. The one I had, the only one I had is what I gave. The teacher maintains a file where the records of what is happening in school and what those obligations that the teacher has got involved in are actually kept on record, that they can be retrieved in case they are needed, and even for a long time they can actually be retrieved from such a teacher. And the retrieval should also be swift. So it means that orderliness has got to be very key in a record keeping of as a teacher. You do not need to look for a paper and for it under the table. You go in the other room, you open all the books, you ask everyone for a little document, which is, it reflects that the teacher is in a disorder, is not aligned, is in a disarray. So that requires that the teacher actually goes ahead to organize records and make them accessible in the least possible time, using the least possible efforts, and then those records will be in that order. So the teachers who masters general teaching method is actually expected to teach effectively within the country or anywhere in the world without being constrained. It tells us that when we are teaching, we can also see what other countries are doing. In Kenya, how do they handle such a subject that you're teaching? And then in South Africa, in Europe, and in Asia. All those are built up by research, which we have here emphasized that the teacher must have. Then we also see the aspect being of engaging students in the process of teaching. Members, we've seen through the time of our learning here that the teacher does not do like the pastors do, where everyone keeps quiet and only claps, or the priests do, or even the religious leaders and other politicians do. When they come, they are the only ones to speak, let others listen, appreciate and clap, and afterwards for give tithes and walk away. So a class which is a learning environment that is wholesome, uh, the learner is not shut down and the learner is not shut up. So the learner is led to be open to the teacher, and the learner's views are also received by the teacher, as the teacher does the work of three things. One, the teacher guides, the teacher directs learning, and the teacher also facilitates learning. So to have a lively lesson which is practical, balanced with principle, and the teacher has got to make sure that the student is engaged. Let us have an open-minded student and also open-mouthed, open-eyed, open body. Okay, the body should be able to move, not to be tight in one place. So the teacher creates such an environment where the person is guided, directed, and also you facilitate by giving all the resources that the student needs to actually complete the job, to learn, for the student to learn. Is it possible for a teacher to actually rebuke a student, where the student has annoyed the teacher? Then which other action can the teacher take? Yes, students can be annoying, but the teacher should not be displaced from the position of being an educator. So how do we maintain ourselves in the position of being an educator? Is one, identifying that for us, we are teachers. So our job is to teach. We are educators. Our job is to educate. And the other is a learner. The job is to learn. Is a student. The job is to study. So, being the fact that this person has been brought to us as a learner, already tells us that for us being teachers, we are already above this learner. We don't need to fight for our position, because we are already in our position. So even when the student does the weird thing, which may not be necessarily um, uh, uh, accredited in the community where the student is, the teacher maintains that this is still a learner, and for that case must learn and can be corrected. So that teachers hope to say this person can learn and can be corrected now draws the teacher's position from kicking to guiding. Even when the teacher stretches the hand to swipe a student, the hand is not stretched to express anger, but instead to remind the learner on what right direction to take. So such a teacher, even if it is stretching a hand to swipe or strike a learner, will not do it like the other who is emptying anger or showing the learner that you are nothing and I, as the teacher, I am something. Whenever we want to solve problems and we are in a straight situation where we instead want to prove to learners that we are so high, yet we are already high, we are actually not doing the job of teaching, because our position is already known in the society. We are even some of us are already certified. We have already the papers, so we have little to prove. We don't need to prove to the community. We only need to do what is right and proper to the community. So where we find the teacher is really fighting, wrestling with the student, then such a teacher has lost the teacher inside. So you may find the teacher is being boxed, but the teacher is holding the student's hands to prevent the student from continuing to fight, and then some other people can accompany to help the teacher, but instead not to get a stone to start now throwing to the student. Then there we have now shifted from being educators to being warriors, which is not proper. So I would like I'm going to open up a session for where people have some comments here and there, and then I hope some have joined up here. I'm seeing the number has increased, and Mr. Seguja Robert has joined. Madam Helen Achan has also joined, and Alibankoha Norbert has also joined. So for the meantime, let us listen to what colleagues are saying for a session we have finished, just that session. You can unmute and speak, and in case there is a member who has not yet presented, please you let us know so that we give you a space to present. Yes, Mr. Ivan Musinguzi.
Doctor, well done for today, colleagues, for attending, and we appreciate Doctor as well for making the unit more clearer than how it has been maybe some of us, how it has been before. And it has been there talking about the teacher, who the teacher is in relation to the school environment and the community, and who the teacher is in terms of those duties and responsibilities. So I have actually learned more that being an educator, maybe actually plastic and knowledge. The concept the doctor tries to make clear in the beginning skills and values is plastic, and then knowledge and principle. So there is a lot to be done, and the teacher said that actually you are interested in the responsibility of grooming the children upright. So the parents, the interest is the children, the community interest is the whole school. Actually, when you go out, they say those are the people of the school. So they don't say that is the teacher of physics only, but they say that is the teacher of that school. So the community interest a lot, and they actually have a lot to play. Yes. So guidance just talks about guidance and functioning. Uh, the teacher should give direction, should give instruction, and again should follow up on the instruction given. So they are being done right, both actually socially and academically.
Okay.
We find, we find that the students should not actually be interrupted by the academic learning in the classroom, but also by the social life, by the social well-being around the student. So I appreciate and I welcome everyone's contribution to this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you indeed. Okay. Have you members looked at the teacher's professional code of conduct? Is there anyone who has looked at it?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, please. You let us know on some of the contents you have seen in there.
Yeah, thank you so much, doctor. Actually, in the teacher's code of conduct, there are many things in which I may not remember all of them. But maybe before I talk about one, because we might have seen these scenarios mostly in our communities around. You realize that most of our colleagues, teachers who are already in the profession, mostly those ones who joined earlier, and especially those ones in the primary. You realize that these people, most of them, they don't uphold the values in the profession. You'll find that in a village area, a teacher can be so drunk in a day, and you find that sometimes you would see even on media, teacher being escorted back to where he stays by students. This one being the teacher went and then took a lot of alcohol, and so you find that the teacher is not upholding the values in the profession. But then when you look at things which are in the code of conduct for teachers, you realize that there are many things. First of all, there is a leadership and integrity. For people who might have read that code of conduct, you'll find that under integrity, the teacher
Yes, Caesar. Okay. Okay. Mr. Caesar has just broken off. It was mentioning about integrity. Okay. Well, the interpretation of the word integrity, sometimes people interpret it the way of honesty. But the word integrity comes from the word integral, which means being together, one being having the mind coordinated with action, or thoughts are in agreement with actions. Even words are in agreement with action. For example, if you said, I'm borrowing your money, 200,000 shillings, please, I'm paying it within 1 week, and the day is Thursday, possibly next week by Thursday you'll have paid it. That's what you said, but are your actions actually going to fulfill that? And then it comes to Thursday, you've kept quiet, or Friday you're keeping quiet, the whole month you've kept quiet. Then it means that your words are not together with your actions. You're not integrated. There is no integrity. Usually when integrity happens, the person's words are in agreement with the person's actions. And when the person who has that integrity, it happens that what you said is not what you're realizing in life, then you communicate back to adjust what you said to match with what you're actually going to do. So if he said, we are going to hold a meeting at this time, and then it happens that the time comes and really see it is not going to happen that time, and then I by my side, I leave people to attend, but I'm not going to attend, and they are expecting me to attend. But again, I'm not informing them that I'm not attending. I'm not also telling them that I'm attending. So they are between there. It means that my words were not in agreement with my action. So usually, if it is seen with a person of integrity, then that person will have to communicate adjustments. That, please, we had said we're going to meet, but unfortunately I've got some challenges, I won't be able to make it. That is okay. So that is an element of integrity. Those are people who say that is a man or that is a lady of her word. What she says is exactly what she will do, and if there is any deviation, she will explain, and she will actually communicate any deviation. Because you find that in some communities, people will leave all their whatever, they will come and I've seen I've seen some people actually entrusting me with their wills, ebidaamo, and then they are expecting that those wills will not be adjusted by you, and that on their passing away, you will declare that that is a will that was entrusted to you without adding anything or removing anything. So if the teacher reaches such an extent where the community can see that they can bank their information with the teacher, and that information will remain as virgin as they banked it, and then they can also bank their property. You can see, I'm going somewhere, but I'm leaving you with my house, please. Other people even say, I'm leaving you with my child, I'm leaving you with my car, and I'm traveling. So how it is handled, the teacher's way is, it is handled as if it is your property, and it is protected like it is your property but someone else's. So that draws the teacher to being a steward. Being a steward is keeping something that is not yours and keeping it very well, as if it was yours. Then there is also the element which is about the teacher's participation in community affairs. So sometimes you find the teacher has enclosed, the teacher does not go for burial, the teacher does not attend a party, even if it is not burial ceremony, but it's a party. The teacher chooses not to, when people are sick on the village, the teacher just walks away, goes, picks the books, provided he has gone to school. Community is community, teacher is teacher. So we actually appreciate what we call the open systems approach, where the teacher opens to be involved in community affairs, though regulating them so that the teacher does not get sunk in community affairs and then derailing his or her own productivity at the workplace. So if there are some affairs in the community that requires the teacher's involvement, working closely with the school administration to handle them would do well, where the school administration is aware that you had some issues, so you needed to attend to them. Otherwise, you cannot cut yourself off the community and then claim to be an outstanding teacher. And then the other aspect is the aspect where of engaging with the stakeholders. We've seen in some schools where the teacher has lots of rumors, moves rumors from this to the other. We've seen that in some schools you find that some parents, the male parents, have two wives, and then the two doesn't know each other, but the teacher possibly is aware, and he is aware, and then starts moving rumors. Please, did you know that your husband has another wife, and they even have children here, and one of them, that is the child, and the other is that is the child. Then there you have exceeded the parameters of a teacher. So the teacher remains confidential of information that does not actually build. Information that doesn't build is withheld, and only information that builds up, not to discourage, is what the teacher fronts. So if it is engaging with stakeholders, we cannot eliminate communication with the stakeholders, but we regulate the communication to see that what we communicate is intending to build up than to break down. Anything that will break community, the teacher has got to withhold it and only give what is of relevance and can build the community. We've seen the very many teachers who can teach the subject very well, but when it comes to community conduct, the teacher uh, is not doing it very, very well. Even relating with other teachers, you've seen some teachers not actually respecting each other, respecting each other, and then the teacher is within the school but does not respect colleagues. Will be the one involved in 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 circulating rumors and circulating information that he or she has not even got proof over. Even when we get proof over information, but we see that is not going to be constructive, we hold such information from being shared, provided it is not going to build. Yeah, thank you, Madam Joanne, for sharing the teacher's code of conduct. Then regarding the teacher's family and the teacher's children and wife or husband, it is important that the teacher's children are decent and reflect that the teacher does the work of teaching even at home. So if the community actually realizes that the teacher, yes, is doing the work of teaching other children in school, but at home teaching is not happening, then teaching is done partially. So the teacher's family should be a reflection of actually the teacher's ability to teach. And guiding, sitting down or creating time to guide children, your children and your relatives and family is very key. You not want to have a community of where you're the only one who has a degree and no one in your family has it, or you keep on accumulating papers but not encouraging any member of your family to actually go ahead to study. And then where people are struggling in the family or in within your family, you where you would have tossed the 100,000 shillings, you're confining it to yourself, and then boasting around your family on how you're able to take care of your own yourself, and the problems around you, you can solve them, but their problems, you are not getting involved in them. So we would like to see that the teacher's family is a true extension of the teacher's service, that we are able to say, yes, this teacher, according to what we see in the family, yes, the teacher has done his job. And sometimes we can even end up hearing in the family where people are giving a witness that if it wasn't uh, Mr. Robert Seguja or Madam Helen Achan with us, I wouldn't have reached this far. This family wouldn't have been this far, because the teacher has now opened up to help other people or enable them get a firm grip on how to stand and be able to move on. That is a little brief of the teachers, the teachers family. But when it comes to the teachers, uh, uh, the teacher's job, the teacher's job. Now, the the teacher's job is so wide, but just to narrow it down to what is happening in the classroom, it will be important to first identify what is considered to be right and true in the school where you are going to teach, and then to clearly study what is required in the new environment where you are, and being open to listening, to learn, to follow through, and to synthesize the necessities in the new environment, or even not getting familiar to the environment where you are already deployed, is really very key, so that each time your job is felt like it is new. You are like a new person on the job, who is new, not necessarily new in service, but uh, uh, like whatever you're doing is like, it is a person who is very hungry at doing what he or she is supposed to do, not necessarily what you are expected to do, because we can expect you to do certain things which may not necessarily be what you should do, but what you must do. The teacher must be able to identify what are the key things I should do on the routine each day, and the checklist is there each week and each term, and then after the term, what should I do? So that trying to find a fault on the teacher's job becomes so hard to those who are out there. Remember that in the teaching profession, there are members of the community who are also out there saying, where do we find a fault in him or her to accuse and then secure that position? There are those people who are out there that if they are tempted, then they cannot easily find a fault. They keep checking this side, you are okay. The other side, you're okay. But not to keep yourself in such an environment where even when it comes to blaming you, people say they are right to blame you because you've not fulfilled some of your obligations. So our obligations we make sure that we fulfill, including teaching appropriately with the appropriate methods, using teaching aids appropriately, managing our classes appropriately, managing school resources and not wasting them appropriately, managing our internal student-teacher relations still appropriately, managing our teacher-teacher relations very well, and managing our teacher administration relations. Of course, there are certain things the administration will determine for you that you may not have too much to change, and that those could be sometimes we may find that they are not bearable, but we need to comply. So the teacher, sometimes you have to calm down and take actions, not because you would take such an action if it was yourself commanding self, but because there is the head teacher, then you bear to take the action because that is what the head teacher wants. There are things we do for others and there are those we do for ourselves. So if the head teacher says you do the other, first wait on that, then we may not need to fight with the head teacher because we are not head teachers. Unless you are a head teacher, but still when you are a head teacher, the district education officer, the DEO, can also spell certain things for you. The ministry can spell certain things for you. The inspectors can spell certain things, or the board of governors or the school management committee. So still we take actions with soberness, but again without diluting our core purpose of existence as teachers. To those that are not bearable, we come out outrightly and say, this one I would propose we do it the other way. Not to say, no, don't tell me that. That is not within my docket. That is not for me. But the teacher finds appropriate ways of handling things which are not matching with interest. So our relationship with school administration would not want to have a teacher who is a class teacher, but in by recruitment and by appointment is a class teacher, but by action is a head teacher. No. I would like to keep a position of, yes, you are a class teacher, but knowing that there is a head teacher, but you're working to make sure that the vision, mission, and objectives of that school are achieved in your position, to the extent that even if it came to say, who should we consider as a deputy head teacher, you are the one, because you have exhibited all the characteristics of a person who can help or enable the administration to run. and then and that comes by accepting some of the responsibilities that the head teacher could delegate to you or to a colleague, such as purchasing some of the items. If it is purchasing eggs, 12 trays, why to purchase 11 and then claim for money from 12? If it is found, then you lose the integrity, you lose the honesty, and that even trying to entrust you with the role of the head of a deputy head teacher, you start to misuse to confuse the inventory of uniforms, of socks, of laboratory equipment. So some little aspects that we keep on uh, handling with administration will always also enable us to 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 promote us, to create a ground upon which our promotion can be based. Yes, it is possible to be promoted because we have the papers, but also the relations we have with the people around us can also catalyze the process of being of being promoted. So the other aspect is the aspect of the teacher's decency. Teacher's decency, which is modesty of the teacher. It is known that teachers are continuously migrating from their attire, and they are really surrendering the attire to lawyers, but suits were for teachers, and coats were for teachers. So it would be important for a teacher to be dressed in a coat or a suit, or making sure that he has tucked in the belt is not that old, or if she's a lady, the dress is not actually going past the thighs upwards. So if it is up the thighs, and then students, instead of studying the topic you've brought, they'll start to study your thighs, and then start studying the body of the teacher. So we not want to deviate the students' attention to getting into other intentional aspects which could be uh, um, draining them from the path of learning, but to make sure that our decency actually can tell the student. Even combing the hair, the teacher, you find teachers whose teeth have grown yellow, have become yellow, and then the fingers, when you hold on the finger, the hands, the fingernails are having soil inside there, stained, and that is the teacher. And the teacher has taken a week or some days without her taking a shower. So it becomes another. The teacher starts to tell students you need to be hygienic, but actually it is the teacher who should actually be hygienic. So when it comes to decency, moves together with smartness, and also moves together with hygiene and sanitation, especially of the body, and also around the, the, the body, around the person. Even in class, you enter class and start teaching students in a very dirty class, disorganized tables, desks, the stools are upside down, but you're continuing to teach. The bottles are scattered, but again the lesson is continuing. Then we say, this teacher is not in a decent environment, and therefore the lesson is happening in a wrong atmosphere. So we need to to keep on checking all that. When it comes to the teacher's handwriting, it is important for a teacher to learn to write properly. The words are not clear. The handwriting, say, you please forgive me, you bear with my handwriting, but it is not about the handwriting, it is about what I'm going to say. No, it's about the meaning, not the handwriting. The teacher has got to have a neat handwriting, either it is print or calligraphic, but it is a handwriting which is clear, and anybody who wishes to read the information should easily read it, whether the person has special needs or myopia or has the hyperopia, can see closely or further, and any form of any person without using specs should be able to read what you have written. So that consideration that was I'm not writing for myself, but I'm writing for others, that adjusts how we write so that our writing actually communicates. Although these days there is typing, we cannot eliminate the fact that there is also writing with the hand. That's why in some villages you find that the teachers are the secretaries. They are the entrusted secretaries of circles, of of associations, of some groups, because they are thought to write neatly and write clearly, even learning the spellings of words. So you find the spelling of some words, the teacher struggles, which is really appalling. So keeping on to learn writing well should be key, including drawing diagrams. So a teacher should not keep telling us, for me, I'm not an artist. Please don't mind about the shape of what I'm drawing. For me, I'm not an artist. I'm not an artist. The teacher is an artist. That is one of the skill of a teacher, is to make sure you learn shapes, you learn curves, the shapes which are a straight line, curved, and also their dimensions. That when you're drawing something, people think that you are just that artist because you bear that characteristic of a teacher. So that is regarding the teacher's handwriting. Then also regarding the teacher's communication, the teacher's way of speaking. It is also important for the teacher to learn to speak to small audiences and large audiences. That is, now public communication is key. That if we have a speech day and we want someone to represent teachers, and then the teachers have lined up there for someone to represent them, and then you find that some of the teachers are looking down and say, what am I going to say? That is not for a teacher. Anyone can be picked at random to stand and speak, because the job of educating and teaching involves almost 60% of speaking. So if the teacher cannot speak to large audiences, which I would call a large class, then the teacher is not fully equipped to educate. So that has got to be, the teacher has got to master the art of public speaking, to that if there is an event, you can go speak to those people on behalf of the head teacher or on behalf of the school, and speak to them to the extent that some of them may even bring children to the school, or can see that the school is really a sound school. So learning to communicate there outside the classroom is also very important. Meet in meetings, in conferences, and on radio and on television, in most of the platforms, the teacher should be able to freely associate with the community. Wherever it requires to teach or to educate, the teacher should be able to communicate. But while communicating, we not despise people or devalue people or show people that they are not worth, and it is only you who is worth. So people need to hear words of respect. They also want to hear words of hope and words that give them courage and the ability to move to the next level. So giving people alternatives of possibility, that here it is possible. Sometimes I say we cannot say we have nothing to give. At least you give hope of you, or you give faith. You tell person you will overcome that, and that can give them one's hope to move on. So members, I would like to have one or two students here giving us some closing keynotes. I can see most of the members here have already presented keynotes.
Hello, Doctor.
Yes, please.
So good evening, colleagues, once again. We appreciate the doctors teaching about teachers code on code. What I think I should maybe also talk about, perhaps what we may have forgotten about, is the teachers and the guardians, then the teachers and the non-teaching staff. Yes, especially the teachers and the non-teaching staff. The teachers are actually fond of segregating the non-teaching staff within the school environment. I find that the non-teaching staff members are not actually valued as being part of the school. They are taken to this level. They actually, some of the teachers have even a habit of oversending them for this and that, that and that, and yet we teachers should actually be examples. Then the teachers and the guardians, the way we present ourselves to the guardians and the parents to these students actually tells what we deliver in class. Then teachers and the society. So the society has got a very keen and sharp eye on the teacher, more than even the students, because the society believes that we actually present what we are. So if a teacher is a drunkard, then the community will just take it that what is teaching the students is also drinking alcohol. The same applies to when the teacher takes some good tobacco. Then what do you expect with the students? Yes, because in sociology we saw that the students copy the teacher. So in the community, my colleagues, we need to present a very good image of how we conduct ourselves. Yes. So thank you all. Maybe someone else can also add on.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Madam Achan.
Hello, Good evening, everyone. I was actually swallowing food, sorry. But I must say this is a very enlightening session once again. Even with those small pieces of advice here and there, picking on from a code of conduct, things that we take for granted. I am glad you have emphasized them. I am hopeful that for me, I'll make a better teacher. So will my colleagues. Some of us entering the teaching profession in some advanced level when we've been in other professions before. But with this course, I feel much polished that I'll be able to deliver. And thanks to everyone for all the pieces of advice, knowledge that we've picked along the way. Yeah. As emphasis is being put on, for instance, the teacher's code of conduct, I remind myself that yes, even as we are supposed to be teachers, not supposed, but we are teachers, we are also human beings. I hope that we'll be able to strike the balance when we are out there in the field. I am much grateful for the guidance that we've received in the teaching methods and curriculum development course. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Chikwameko Ruka.
Doctor, morning members. I'm sorry, I've been struggling to join in, but I've finally succeeded.
Okay.
Now I'm a bit far from Kampala. I'd moved to a big game, but I'm planning to move back to possibly to do later in the evening, such that I join the team for my papers for today. And Doctor,
Yes.
me, I was given to present competition and competition as one of the teaching methods and communication. And the concept of communication in curriculum development. I don't know if I can be given a chance to
go ahead.
Go ahead. Thank you, Doctor. Yes. Competition as a general teaching method has its own benefits. Let me start by maybe defining it. Competition is where you set kind of competition among different age groups, different classes, or different streams. You can either do it using Zoom, so using quiz questions between the groups, and you try to engage learners and see how they understand different concepts. And it is basically done in terms of group work, which is assigned to different competitions. You can either group them by their stream or by their original houses. You remember at school level, we have houses, and then you set a competition between them and you start testing their level of knowledge and understanding of different concepts in the subject matter and on different topics. Then the benefits of competition as a teaching method, they help to increase motivation and engagement, because now this is peer-led, that learners interact freely and they are bringing their own views. So this, in the long run, it helps to increase motivation and learner engagement. It improves on the teamwork and collaboration.
Okay, let me close this session here. We shall link up, members. We shall link up. Thank you for being online with me. And my name is WIlber Ssebuyungo Kivekayunga.